Hey, what's going on, you guys? This is James Pratt, host of the Marketing for Gold podcast, where we meet with bold entrepreneurs, operations leaders, finance pros, and marketers, redefining what's possible in business growth. Today, we're with John Noonan, Fractional Revenue Officer of Growth Plan Partners. Welcome to the show, John.
Thank you, James. I appreciate you having me today.
Yeah, so I know a bit about Growth Plan Partners, but how about you tell us a little bit about yourself and the company? You've done a lot of great work.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, I started Growth Plan Partners just 4 years ago now. Part of the COVID outcome, if you will. But I had spent 35 years in corporate America, mostly as an EVP of sales and marketing, building high performance sales and marketing teams for multi-billion-dollar companies and $100 million companies, and had a great time doing that. And then along came COVID, and I decided to go out on my own and help small and mid-sized businesses. So what I do today is, with all my background and knowledge of how the big boys do it, if you will, I help companies generally in the $5 to $50 million range that are looking to get to the next level with sales or struggling with sales. So I help with process and systems. I come in as a fractional sales leader, like as if they would have hired, their own sales manager. But I am there for a temporary period to get in the systems, the processes, the right people, and get them growing again. So that's what I do at Growth Plan Partners.
Nice. So I heard about the revenue range, the annual revenue range you're targeting. Do you notice a pattern in the revenue or the employee count?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that revenue range tends to translate to, 10 to 200 employees. Actually came out of a couple of industries, the printing world and some manufacturing operations in the signage. So they tend to have more employees at those revenue ranges. But what we have seen happen is in that $5 to $50 million range, business owner, great product, great idea. They drive it to some number in that range, let's say $10 million, and then the brakes go on and everybody's looking at one another. What happened? Okay. And it's a couple of things that we can chat about, but it's either the owner is so involved in keeping their own book of business and sales that they become overwhelmed trying to run a business and be a salesperson, or they just got there so fast, they never put in the process, the systems, the trackings, the KPIs, the dashboards, to really keep them aware of where they are and what they're doing. And sometimes it's just that they haven't really looked at their ideal clients and their value proposition and making sure that they call on the right people. So there's several issues that we see, but the commonality is that the business owner, again, is a little too involved in sales. We help them get out of it so that they can be more strategic and focus on the business instead of being in the business, as they say. And we take that over from them and build everything in place so that after we're done and we leave, they can plug and play and move forward from there.
Yeah, for sure. So this first few questions are going to be about revenue leadership and growth systems, which is perfect based on what you've just jumping into. But when you step into a company as a fractional CRO, what's the first signal you look for that tells you whether their revenue engine is healthy or leaking?
Okay.
Good or bad?
Yeah. The biggest thing is a sales forecast. Do they have one, and do they trust it? And has it been real? Okay. I'll be honest with you, even up to $30-40 million companies that I've worked with don't even have forecasts. It's like, yep, go out and get them, guys, and hope we sell more than last month. So just having the discipline of putting together a solid sales forecast and a CRM system, if that is accurate, then I think they're in good shape. They know what they're doing. It's when that is not accurate and it's missed all the time. They have a bunch of numbers for a forecast and all the results are below that number. That's where the leakage comes in, either because they're not following up with the proper kind of clients that they know they can close, or they don't have an understanding of their sales process and sales cycle. And we have to get through that and get them to understand it.
So it sounds like you're really good at painting the picture on kind of what needs to be done. Flip it around and present it as though you left and you did your job. What's the healthy engine look like?
Yeah, thank you. My average client and just my personal performance, I've worked with probably 36 clients since I started my business over here. So my average client has been up 20 to 35% in revenue. Okay. So we have broken the dam, if you will, and showed them a lot of times that's regaining some, revenue that they had. Many of my clients have actually declined in revenue because of their systems and processes, not being in place or not having the right people. Because I actually have a recruiting firm behind me. I help them hire, and sometimes we have to let some people go that, aren't appropriate type of thing. But in general, that's the kind of performance we expect, 20 to 35% in the first year, because we're trying to get back to where we were or get back on that growth plan.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of CEOs and senior leaders, they think they have sales and marketing problems when actually it's usually a process issue.
Mm-hmm.
How do you diagnose whether the real blockage lies with sales, marketing, or operations?
Right, right. Well, again, sales is generally responsible for meeting this, forecast and budget, right? So if they have one and that's not being met by the sales team, then we have to look first at the sales team. Do they have the tools that they need? Have they been given everything that they need? A lot of times, like I said, no disrespect, but business owners become sales leaders and they're not exactly qualified to do so. Okay. So they're not coaching, they're not helping, they're just kind of, again, go out there and get them, guys and girls. Good luck today. But we have to look at the tools that they need and the reporting structure that they need so we can understand what's working and what's not working. So we look at that first to see, tools are there, working, not working. A lot of times it is in the sales force and not either having the right people or having the right focus. I think, one of the things that I tell most of my clients to do at the beginning is to put away the shotguns. And what I mean by that is quite often when salespeople are hired, they want to get sales. So they go out there with a shotgun and shoot at anything that moves in the field, right? Trying to bring home a sale. Is it a good sale? It may be, but it may not be. So we spend a lot of time on the front end going through what I know you do in marketing also, but who's our ideal client? What's their profile? What's our value proposition against them? Now, at the beginning, have to narrow that to one or two types of clients so we can generate some cash. Then that's usually when I invite marketing teams, maybe like yourself, into a client and say, now it's time to grow. Now go research other markets, realize what your value proposition has to be. You're going to have to create awareness in that marketplace, all the good things that marketing folks do.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I kind of turn over the baton over there. It's a rarity that I walk in and marketing is the problem because, if sales is broken, marketing probably doesn't exist or they don't know how to use it. And I feel bad for marketing firms because I've seen owners try to fix sales problems with marketing and the marketer did their job. They created leads, they brought around awareness, but no one did anything with them. There was no system to take it, bring it into a CRM system, monitor it, follow up, nurture the lead, none of that. So the owners sit around saying, I spent all this marketing money, it didn't do me any good. It's the system. They never had a system to handle marketing. So I make sure that that's implanted before the marketing team takes over.
Yeah, for sure. So a little bit about my background is I have a sales background and I love pipeline management and all the sales management stuff that you do.
Yep.
It's just I ended up in more of the marketing just because there's so much creativity. Obviously, that's kind of my wheelhouse.
Yep.
But one of the things you were saying that was interesting, and I have noticed this a lot in the B2B world, which is pretty much where Marketing for Gold focuses. And I would assume, I don't know if we clarified that, is that your target audience is mostly B2B or?
Yeah, it's 100% B2B. I've done a little bit of B2C, but mostly in companies that spill over into it. But I'm definitely not, I'm not doing any Amazon kind of, website stuff. No, not me.
Yep. So the thing I was kind of thinking about is what does true alignment look like between sales and marketing and practice beyond just saying we're all in the same team? Because
exactly.
a little kind of what I've, in my experience in the companies we work with, which we work with very similar companies, I say 2 to 35 million. You said 5 to 50. I think we both know in reality, like you said, a lot of $5 million companies sometimes are operating the same way the 30 or the 40, 50 is.
Exactly.
So what would you say the alignment looks like when it's healthy?
When it's healthy, it's a true partnership, and they work together as a group. Okay. And what I mean by that is, are you familiar with EOS at all, or the okay. So if you're familiar with EOS,
we love EOS.
What's that?
We love EOS.
Okay,
EOS is exactly the type of, if you love EOS, you'll love us, you'll love you, right?
Okay, exactly. So I work with a lot of EOS implementers, and I'm a big believer in the EOS level 10 meeting. Okay. So I think to answer your question, to make sure we're aligned, we would have a weekly L10 meeting, whether it's a half hour or an hour, whatever we need, between marketing and sales, and everybody gets on the same page. What are we doing this week in marketing? What are we going to see? What's going to be posted? How do they repost it from their LinkedIn to make sure we put out the spider web and everybody knows what's coming across, so that because again, the misalignment and the embarrassment comes from the potential client that calls, the salesman answers, and they said, I saw your marketing piece, and that person has no idea what the customer's talking about. So making sure we all agree who we're marketing to, what the message is going to be. The salesperson understands the message very clearly. They know what's gone out, and they know how to react to the incoming or inbound lead appropriately. So that's my thing.
So I kind of have a reporting question, which is, how do you ensure that your sales KPIs are connecting with those revenue goals that are set at the beginning, instead of becoming quote unquote vanity metrics, which is used all the time in marketing, which is like, you know, the sales guys could say they made 1 million calls, and it's like, did they? You know how it is. Every CRM is different. A lot of salespeople are fudging their numbers because they, you can't make it look like you did nothing. And a lot of the salespeople, as you know, there's a friction point at the CRM point, which is all the homework, right? The documentation.
Yep.
That's not what they like doing, but they have to do some of it to a lot of it.
Exactly. And the way I help salespeople understand that is, I say, look at your territory, or your market focus as your own personal business. If you had your own personal business, how would you manage it? How would you run it? How would you look at it? Okay. I show them the value of a CRM, and I actually show them some of the marketing pieces right at the front end. I say, look, you can go online and see who's on our website. You can see who's looking at us. So when you send an email to somebody, how cool is it to see that 3 hours later they're on the website checking you out? Okay. So I see things like that. And when leads come in automatically, and they can kind of see who's coming in and who's looking at them. Now, back to your metrics. Once I get them to get excited about using a CRM system for their own management, I set the metrics within the CRM system, right? And again, that sales is a backwards math formula, right? To get so many sales, we're going to have to put out so many proposals. To get those proposals, we're going to have so many meetings. To get those meetings, we're going to have, today's term is touch points. We're going to need so many touch points, whether that's a phone call, an email, a LinkedIn, social
networking event.
Networking event, whatever it happens to be. So I'm going to track those, and it's easier and easier today with these new systems and AI. So, again, on the phone call, if we're heavy on the phone, and that depends on industry, industries are different, but if it's a heavy phone industry, I want the phone system hooked into the CRM system. I want them making the calls out of the CRM system. You're not recording them. You can't do that legally without informing the client that it's being recorded, but at least if they're pushing the button, I know they called Cindy Lou Who, okay, from 11 to 11:07 was the call. There was, a 6-minute or a 7-minute call, blah, 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 blah. And from that data, I can get some sense of reality of what their, activity level is. All right. And then it takes time. I mean, if they've never done it before, I have good knowledge of specific industries where I have some industry data, but that actual company, over time, we're just going to develop the metrics, and we're going to know that, it takes approximately 30 reach outs to get the one call that's going to get you the meeting, that when you have 10 meetings, you're going to bid $500,000 and you're going to win 100,000. And we do that backwards formula. And that's how we assign metrics to say, okay, our expectation is you need to be making 30 calls a day. Okay. And you need to be connecting with 5 people and having good conversations or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So I kind of wanted to go off on a tangent. Some of this is, maybe we'll keep this, maybe we won't. But they say that this was the best World Series ever. Have you heard about that?
Yeah, I agree. I
And it
had
was
fun
crazy.
watching it.
It was
Yeah.
insane. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I became a baseball fan probably like 5 years ago, very late. I was never really into organized sports, always into skateboarding, stuff like that.
Yep.
And I moved a lot closer to Philadelphia like
Mhm.
10 years ago. And the culture here, as you know, or if you've
Mhm.
heard, it's pretty insane. It's fanatical. You can't escape it. It's a huge,
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
it gives you a sense of community when you're here.
Right.
And
Agreed.
so I got really into baseball, and I'm kind of like a metrics guy. And baseball, I love that because baseball is so metric driven. Like, I'm not really deep into the stats in baseball, ironically, but I love the way how it's kind of like you can parallel it to sales and marketing super easy. It's like
Mhm.
how many swings at the bat is kind of what I kept hearing you saying. Is like if
Right.
there's no phone calls being made, no one's swinging the bat. If no one's swinging the bat, they are not on base. There's no runs. There's no wins. There's no
Exactly.
playoffs. There's no championship. Right?
Yep.
It's
Great
the same
analogy.
thing. Yeah.
Yep. That's
And then
exactly the same thing. And that's what we say. It's a lot of times I say, how many at bats have you had? I mean, you're not doing anything till you get up to bat. So
that's right. So every CRO talks about predictable sales growth, but what does
Mhm.
that really mean to you? And how does marketing help contribute to the sales team's predictable sales growth?
Right. Okay. Well, again, from my corporate background, just to step back for a second, again, the last 20 years of my career, I worked for companies in the range of 50 to probably a half a billion, 50 million to a half a billion, running sales and marketing teams. And we were owned by private equity.
Mm.
So I was actually an investor in the company as an executive. Okay. So as they say, we had skin in the game. So we cared about everything. When we had our weekly, level 10 meetings and someone wanted to hire 3 people, I wanted to know why, even if it wasn't my department, because it's my money, right? I need to understand what we're doing and how we're establishing all of that. So, you really have to decide how fast you're capable of growing. Okay, these are conversations we have at the beginning with the owner and operations. Okay, if I grew 10%, 15%, 20%, can you handle it? Okay, I had a client that said yes, but I knew this was going to happen, and we actually had them up 30% in sales in 6 months. And they were freaking out because they couldn't manufacture it fast enough. Then we were, they're smart enough to have outsourcing options. So, but we were outsourcing tons of business just to keep up. So you have to understand what your, again, capacity is first. Okay. Then you can determine your growth level. And again, it's the business owner's option. Some people want to, just operate, what we'll call a lifestyle business. In other words, it's owned by 3 family members. They want to make X dollars per year. And if they can make X dollars per year and support their family, that's cool. So we can grow at 5% and just keep ahead of inflation. Everybody's cool. We don't need to do anything beyond that. That's their prerogative. They own the business, whatever. Some of my businesses, I've just finished up with a $40 million 3rd generation business where the grandson came in and took over after going away and working for a bunch of consulting companies and getting a really good education. And he was like, no more lifestyle. We're going for the moon. I want this thing growing at 30 to 40% a year because here's my goal. Here's what I want to drive it to. Here's the value creation I want for the company. And here's what I want to get out of it. So again, it just depends on where they are. That's where we have to start. Then, once I have that metric, okay, you want to grow at 10, 20, 30. Now, do we have the investment to do that? Okay, to grow 10 to 20, probably can do it with what you have, okay, and maybe a person or 2 added from time to time. You want to grow at 30 to 40, you need to make a significant investment. And are you ready and willing to do that? You got to hire people. You're going to have to hire more in your production facilities, or whatever product you produce or service you provide. You're going to have to hire people. So all of that has to be considered. So again, we try to do that at the front end. Get a good understanding of where they want to go, how fast, based on the budget that they have. That's why Again, I happen to have my MBA in marketing and finance, so I can read income statements and balance sheets, and I like working with the CFO early on,
Yep.
or the highest
Always.
financial person. Do they understand what they can do and, what their cash availability is to grow?
Yeah. It's loved everything you just said. So when I first started marketing for gold, the operations leaders and the finance people, they're actually the main people I want to have on this podcast
Yeah.
because everything you just said is basically everything I was thinking about predictable
Mhm.
growth because
Yeah.
it really first, and you could even go one step further back. And I think you did say it. You just didn't say this word mindset,
Mhm.
lifestyle versus growth,
Mhm.
right? Lifestyle versus growth oriented business.
Right.
There's so much. So there's kind of like the mindset piece. Then there's the budget piece, which is tied to the infrastructure. Can you handle it? Right?
Mhm.
Business is like a clock almost. Like there's a mechanism to business. It doesn't happen. It
Mhm.
just doesn't snap your fingers and then you're able to do it.
Right. Right.
Right? It's like
That.
winning a championship. If you don't have any superstars,
Mhm.
probably not going to happen. It's not even going to be in the conversation. And that's kind of that equivalent of, are you contending for a championship? And if the
Mhm.
answer is no, maybe you're more lifestyle business.
Right.
Yeah.
I
So,
like it. I like the analogy. Yep. Yeah.
what's
Excellent.
your favorite ways to visualize or communicate pipeline health to senior leaders, the chief executive officers who don't want to drown in dashboards?
Yeah. It's the simplicity of a Kanban based sales process dashboard, if that makes sense to anybody. But again, just the little tiles in the levels of or the steps of your sales process. I mean, most people, you shouldn't really have more than 7 max. I like 5 or 6 steps in your sales process, from either engaging a potential client, generating some interest. Now you have a meeting, maybe you have to do a demo or make some, prototype for them or whatever. Then you're going to give them the proposal, then they're going to negotiate with them, and then you're going to win or lose, right? Type of thing. So when you have those, if we're doing everything we talked about doing, and you're seeing what your forecast is in that Kanban style, you can put a percentage probability on everything, right? So you can learn that in this stage, probability is only 10% of what's over here, okay? But when I get someone to, stage 5, now I'm in an 80% probability. And that's how you create your forecast. So it's the net sum of all of the values times the probability based on the stage that they're in and the expected close date. So, I'm a CRM nut with salespeople, but I said, look, all I want you to do is every time, I only want 3 things, to be honest with you. This is some good advice for anybody running a CRM on their own. All you need is 3 things from a salesperson to understand where you are if you've got a CRM system. Number 1, you need to understand, is the value correct? Okay, so let's look at the value of what they put in there. At the beginning, you're guesstimating, right? We think he buys this. He's telling us that. She says this, whatever. Then as we get down the cycle, it gets more and more accurate, and we actually bid something so we know generally what we're bidding. Now, it doesn't mean we may bid, 100 pieces and 5,000 pieces, and we still don't know. We've got a range, but we start to make it more accurate as we go on. So I want to know every time they look at a deal, do you feel confident in that number? Does it make sense based on where you are in the cycle? Okay, that's number 1. Number 2 is the close date correct? Do you expect to land the business where you say you are? Originally they said they were going to place their orders by the end of November. Now we just got word from them that the budget's exhausted for the year. They're hoping to place the order on January 15th. Change the time. Don't leave that in the forecast if you know the client's not going to do it. If you have an accurate time frame, now that gives us an accurate forecast. And then the last thing I want to see is, what is your next action step to move this forward into a sale? Okay. So what is that activity? I need a planned activity. So again, I need a close date, I need a value, and I need a planned activity. I'm going to call them back. I'm going to follow up. I'm going to review this. I'm going to send them a proposal. I'm going to send him a sample. Whatever it is, you have to have those 3 things constantly going, or it's not a deal to me. I don't want to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have so many ways I could go with this, just so many things you just said. I would say the first thing that I kept bouncing around my head is I've been coaching since I was a kid. It's just kind of
Yeah.
a thing that I did. I started teaching when I was in high school, teaching adults. They would come around to my parents' house in the basement and I would teach them drum lessons.
Cool.
It's like almost most things in life, aside from rocket science, are not rocket science. But what
Right.
it is dedicated leadership to the thing. So in this case, it's like what we're doing is not rocket science, but if you don't do it, it's like it tends towards chaos. It's like
Exactly.
that. There's a law. I think it's entropy. I'm really going back now, but I think the law of entropy is that everything tends towards chaos in the world. And it's absolutely true in the sales pipeline and marketing.
Right. Right.
So it's just interesting to kind of hear you break it down from the sales perspective. And the other question that it led me to want to ask that wasn't in my notes was, I'll just speak for myself. When I usually get into people's marketing operations, their revenue operations, we almost always have to reestablish accurate baseline and benchmark data within their stuff. So like in your case, you kept saying, is it accurate? And the answer probably, right, ... was possibly not when you're just showing up, right? It's like you have to kind of get everyone and say, this is kind of what it would look like if it was accurate. Let's start doing this now. And then you have those weekly, monthly coaching meetings to make sure there's the accountability, right? That's what really, that's a huge piece that we're offering as coaches to with these different departments. I'm marketing, you're more sales, but I was kind of thinking like, what separates a great revenue leader from a great marketer or a great salesperson?
Well, a salesperson's got to have a couple of basic things. And when I say salesperson, I'm going to refer to the hunter mentality of a salesperson, right? I mean, they've got to love solving problems. They got to love getting out there and meeting new people, right? And they got to love putting the pieces together. Here's the need. To me, sales is three things, okay? And I say this a lot. And sales is a need or a problem on one end. That's usually the client. There's a solution or a supplied product to solve that issue or problem. That's the supplier, okay? But people often forget about timing, okay? And I'm saying timing is the third element of sales. Timing involves a lot, okay? Why might not timing be right? It could be budget. I really want that solution. I don't have the money to buy it right now. It might be priorities. I really want that solution, but I've got to finish something I've already committed to, so I can't even address it for 6 months. So the timing gets moved type of thing. So people forget that timing piece, all right? Sales has to stay focused on initially the clients where the problem and solution match and the timing is in the near future, okay? You spend your time right there. All right. That's what you got to work on to close deals to make it happen. When the timing becomes elongated, that's where we also ask for help from marketing to help nurture that lead. Okay. They're not ready. I put an action to call them back in 6 months. They said they want to talk in 6 months, but that's not the way to do it. Wait 6 months to call somebody because that's what they told you. You have to stay top of mind, right? So get them in your marketing, system and let's get them at least in our monthly newsletter. Let them see our name. Let them see what's new and exciting. They may see something that all of a sudden motivates them to now take the timing to today. Okay. So that's kind of how I see sales and marketing kind of working together and setting priorities.
Yeah, so I kind of picked up on a word you were saying, uncertainty. There's a lot of uncertainty. That's why the time on the pipeline can change with each individual opportunity and deal. So I guess what I was kind of thinking is when you're scaling through uncertainty, new markets that you're entering, product changes, macroeconomic issues, which is, huge keyword right now.
Tariffs.
Yeah. So what's the mindset leaders need to protect growth and that focus that they need? Because as we talked about, it's kind of easy to get your hair on fire and then you're just either pausing marketing or you're pausing your sales efforts. Going back to old habits.
Yeah. It's contingency plans. It's like any good system, process, or whatever. You have to look at contingency plans. And in fact, Sales Acceleration that I represent just did a big monthly newsletter on that, how to sit down, with your management team and with your sales team and talk about contingency. What happens if what we're supplying, all of a sudden a tariff comes in and all of our existing client base puts all of these orders on hold? What are we going to do? Do we have another market do we look at? And that's what you have to say. Are there secondary markets that we could approach quickly, and are there other people that are buying them? One of the ways that I have most successfully grown organizations fast is when you're very good at something and you do it well and you collect a good client base, especially when they're, big giant companies and things like that. One of the best conversations you could have is, what else can we sell them? Okay. They love us. Okay. We're doing good. We've gotten great referrals. We're doing what we do well. We're supplying them that. But that company buys a lot of other things. And we might not even produce that today. That's how I grew one company, where I realized we were producing a product. Okay. And every time we produced that product and gave it to them, that happened to be the signage business. Okay. We were showing up to put up signage, and guys with hats like you, construction guys, were just walking out of that building. And I'm like, but what did they really do? They didn't build that building. Okay. They were in what's called the remodel, refresh construction business. Okay. So what they did is, when a bank bought another bank, or a retailer, or, Rite Aid was bought by CVS, they went in, they cleaned out the building, new carpeting, new fixtures, some low voltage, paint everything, put it all up, put some signs up, boom. Then they hand the keys back to the client to fill it up with product and turn it into a location, or whether it's a bank or whatever else. So I said to myself, customers love us for doing signage and graphics and all that. Why can't we do that first stage work, And we built a construction division, okay? Today, that construction division, I believe, is about $400 million of the now $1 billion company that company became when I worked with them, when they were $30 to $50 million. So it was, but that mentality was always there. Like, when you do something well for a client, what else can you do for them? And think that way. So it's a long stretch on the contingency plans, but that's the way you have to think. You have to think about, what else can you do? And what are you going to do if the spigot turns off? Okay. What's your backup plan? Where are you going? Okay. You talked about baseball. What happens if, the pitcher throws their arm out? Okay. All right. We're going to go back to the secondary pitcher, but now we may have to change our strategy. Okay. We don't have a 100-mile fastball guy anymore, right? We're going to be throwing more curves, or whatever it happens to be. So you just need to be, you have to have contingency plans in a short word, but it involves a lot.
Yeah. No, I'm hearing in my head, expansion revenue is something that we track, which is what we were just talking about. And there was another thing I was thinking of. You know how there's a word in your head and you're trying to get to it? I know expansion revenue is everything we were just talking about.
Yeah.
So there's kind of that 80-20 rule that seems to, haunt businesses when contingencies are needed.
Yeah.
And I wonder if reframing the expansion revenue and contingencies as related, as kind of an exercise, could be a good thing.
Absolutely. Yep. You should be looking at those constantly. So, we know the old adage that, additional business from an existing client is 6 times cheaper than going out and finding a new client. All right. Because finding a new client requires the marketing effort, the awareness stage, proof stage, all of that kind of stuff. So you have to balance that. You've got to balance that. You're going to, go get as much as you can from your existing clients, but keep your hunters out there hunting and make sure that you're rewarding. And I do a lot of work on compensation plans as well for clients, because, a lot of small businesses, that's another problem that, I see constantly, is when they built their businesses, they wanted to hire good salespeople, and they were told that they needed to make a certain amount of money, or why would they go work for you versus IBM or some big corporation where they got benefits and everything else. So you generally have to pay them a slightly higher percentage commission, let's say. Problem is they put these very simplistic plans in place that were, into infinity and beyond type of thing. And I'm sorry, but they ended up producing fat and lazy salespeople because, if they had repeat clients, they could just sit there making their same percentage. And, so I come in and help them redevelop plans that are focused on new business growth. That's where the big money is going to be made, but you're not going to be able to rest on your laurels and make that kind of money. It's just, it's businesses can't survive, and it shouldn't be that way anyway. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you've probably seen marketing budgets wasted and marketing budgets multiplied. What would you say separates the two as it relates to their support for the sales piece of it? Because in B2B, it's almost always marketing is the support to sales. That's what I've experienced.
Yeah. And yeah, absolutely. Again, they're pursuing new markets, they're nurturing leads, they're putting out, building awareness, maybe in markets that we're looking at. On the negative side, the wasted money is doing those good things, maybe investing in your website and SEO and other things that you want for greater awareness, and not having a system in place to react to the awareness and the leads. You generate the awareness and you don't go to the trade show. Well, what the hell? You generated the awareness and you have leads coming in off your website. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I feel like looking at no system to follow up, to call clients back right away, or, they get around to it a week later and the client's already found somebody else. So that's the wasted money, is not having alignment with sales and not having a process for everything that marketing does to eventually be handled by sales to take it to the next level. Okay. And the good money spent is when you have the people, the good people, you're having these weekly meetings, you're aligned with marketing, and then you generate good ideas together to go to the next level. Hey, how about if we did this? How about if we went to this trade show we've never been to before? How about if, we looked at this client base that, we've never served before because, we're going to play the what if game type of thing. That's where the great ideas come together. That's when good money gets spent. It's like, hey, our competitors kicking our ass. Look at their website. Look at our website. We have to invest in the website. Okay. We need more testimonials. It's got to be easier to use. I'm working with a client right now. They don't have a search function on it when all the competitors do. So it's like, you're looking like the old, mechanic instead of the new, souped up engineer type of thing.
Ease of use. Yeah.
So anyway, that's where I would say the good money spent versus, the money gets leaked on the back end with no support.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's that follow through, right?
Yep.
I keep going back to the baseball stuff just because it's so simple. It's like, it's kind of like when they say it's like teams that have amazing hitters, but they have no pitchers or no defense. It's like,
right.
There's a saying, I think I know what the sentiment is, but it's basically like you can either win games by hitting the ball all the time, like the Dodgers. I mean, they're doing everything, or you can prevent other teams from winning the games with really good defense. I think they say that second piece, it's like defense wins championships. It's that alignment between those two things. In this case, what I heard was the marketing campaign actually could have been amazing, but if the sales guy's not there to run in home, to keep going back to that, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like, okay, cool hit, bro. It's like, where's the run? It's like, the sales guy's the one driving the run home, not the marketing guy.
Yeah. And it's funny. It's, one of the first conversations that I have when I meet a new sales team and I come in, because everybody's nervous. They think I'm there. Oh my God, their job's in jeopardy, whatever. But usually in about 2 weeks, they're like, thank God you're here because you actually understand this and you're here to help me. But my first conversation, mostly it's a locker room speech. To me, sales is a team sport. Okay. And everybody on the sales team and everybody on the marketing team has to work together. Okay. We've got to know what each other is doing. We got to know that we're not stepping on toes. We can't look stupid in front of a client because one doesn't know what the other is doing, et cetera, et cetera. And you got to help one another. And I said, there's no such thing as a position on any team, any football team called the fumble picker upper. It's the closest guy. The closest guy, when you see a fumble, you jump on it and you maintain possession of the ball, okay? And that's the attitude that my team has to have to win. And that may be the marketing person, that may be the salesperson, that may be the customer service person. But when you see the fumble, jump in there, grab the ball, maintain possession, fix it, reset the strategy, and then let's go win the damn game. So.
Love it, man. You're dropping nuggets now. Now you're speaking my language. My brain just thinks in terms of analogies all the time. So I had a last question for you, and I think I'm going to try to answer it and see if it just matches with what you were going to say. So originally it asked, if you could install a non-negotiable system in every growth stage company to protect revenue, what would it be? And from what I heard earlier was you have to have a solid CRM with sales process.
That's it. You answered it. That's simple. That's it. You can't run a business without a CRM system today. There's too much data. There's too much going on, and the AI components of CRM systems today can double the efficiency. Amazing. It's that old joke of, is my job going to be replaced by AI? No, but you may be replaced by someone doing your job that understands how to use AI because they become more efficient. So, I mean, these systems now, you can talk into them. You don't even have to type anything anymore. You can tell it, go out and look at my last 20 emails and tell me what you think the client might be thinking and what I should do. I mean, there's so many tools out there today to make you more efficient, keep you following up with clients, and giving salespeople the ability to handle so much more than they could in the past. So that's your system.
Yeah. No, I just thinking about all the AI stuff. I mean, the marketing stuff that you can do with it. I mean, I'm using it all the time simply because it's amazing. It's incredible it's crazy to me. Like, I'm often shocked about what it's doing because it's able to crunch stuff, random stuff, like really fast, as you know.
Right.
So there's just so many use cases for the CRM side of it that I actually would love to learn more about. But John, it was awesome having you on the show. I look forward to hearing more about your accomplishments in the future, and I'd love to see you again. Talk soon.
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much, James. Appreciate it.